What is descriptive research? Descriptive research involves the measurement of how frequently or typically people think, feel, or behave in particular ways. It can help us answer questions about the what, where, when, and how of social behavior, but it can't tell us anything about the why. Social psychologists tend to use multiple methods, and descriptive research often serves as the initial step of the process. Eventually, they will use the data from this step to conduct one or more of the other types of research. One type is observational research, in which researchers observe participants systematically, often in natural settings. For example, we might sit in a park and count the number of recyclable items people throw in the trash instead of the recycling bin. As you might imagine, if people know we are observing them, they will probably change their behavior. Sometimes, it's best if participants do not know they are being watched. Researchers might use two-way mirrors to observe their participants. Self-report surveys are another type of descriptive research. We might ask them to rate themselves or other people, or to assess the extent to which they experience certain phenomenon. We can collect a lot of information in a short amount of time. The data from these surveys is often used in correlational research, where we examine the relationship between different variables. You'll learn more about this method in the next section of the lecture. Let's examine some of the considerations we need to make when working with observations and self-report data. The first consideration is the reliability or consistency of our measures, like rating forms and surveys. Researchers should use the same form to rate all participants, for example. When it comes to observations, inter-rater reliability is important. Sometimes we need more than one person to observe and measure behavior. For some jobs, applicants are assessed by a panel of interviewers whose ratings are often averaged. When we rely on multiple raters, we need to establish inter-rater reliability to make sure that all the raters are using the same framework or rubric to evaluate others' behaviors. If one rater pays attention to the applicant's words, while another rater pays attention to the applicant's nonverbal behaviors, their ratings may be very different, and they may end up hiring unqualified applicants. The validity or accuracy of self-report surveys is impacted by a variety of factors, everything from how the questions are worded, to how many response options are provided, to how they are feeling in the moment. One of the ways that researchers overcome this challenge is using the bogus pipeline technique. They lead participants to believe their responses will be verified by a polygraph, a lie detector test. The data suggests that this strategy does, in fact, encourage participants to be more truthful in their responses, but we have to be careful about using deception to collect data. Representativeness is yet another consideration. It's impossible to observe or survey every single person in the population of interest, so researchers measure a smaller sample of people. But how they identify that sample makes a difference. The goal is to identify a representative sample, one that accurately represents the population. The gold standard is to use random sampling. It ensures that everyone in the population has an equal chance of being selected to participate in the study. In order to use random sampling, though, we must be able to identify every single member of the population, and that may be impossible. The final type of descriptive research is archival research. This involves an examination of existing data, records, and documents, such as published datasets, newspaper articles, diaries, and statistics. There are numerous organizations devoted to collecting data, including state and federal governments, Gallup, the Pew Research Center, and more. Although they can be confident they didn't have an impact the data, the records they rely on are not always complete, accurate, or organized. In the next part of this lecture, you will explore correlational research.